Hello, my name is Mijke. I'm from Eindhoven, and I'm going to tell you something about my life. I have nothing to do with art, but I started a project with my own experience. This is me, and this is my bike. It looks very hard, but the bike has 3 wheels, and that's not because I like 3 wheels, because it's necessary. Because when I was 29 years, I was the happiest girl in the world. I had a 3 weeks relationship with a really, really good-looking guy. I had the job of my life. I worked as a social worker with people with Alzheimer. I have a great house. I have everything I wanted. And at that point, my light goes out. What happened? I take you back 2 years before that. I had a party for my work. I was driving my colleagues back to their home. And on the way back, I came home, but I didn't know when I was home. I didn't know anymore how I came home. So I had a sort of blackout. I called the doctor. He came, and he said, I don't know for sure what it is. I think it's something like migraine, but yeah, just go home. But if you work in the hospital, you're always a little bit. What's the name? Eigenwijs? Anxious, yes. So the next day I went to the hospital and I asked for an MRI scan. At the MRI scan, they saw, and I called, it's AVM, it's arterial venous malformation. Does everybody knows what that is? You have a vein and you have a vein en de slagader en ader. Oh, this is difficult. I have aphasia. I have to talk in English, so it's double difficult, but I'm trying. It has to do something with the veins in my head, and the combination with the 2 veins that was missing. From the moment on that I was in the belly of my mother. At the point that I felt that something wrong, I was 26. That was the point that I was sitting in the car. And after that, I was operating, and I had all the medical treatments that they can do. So the doctor sent me home, and I said, okay, this is all I can do. So we have to wait now what happens. 2 years later, the brain bleeding still was coming. They made folds. The doctor said, she's not going to survive this, she's going to die. So my friends and my family said goodbye to me. And then another doctor came, so it's human work. And he said she is young and she can give all for, and try to, how do you call it? To survive. Thank you. So I start fighting again. I start learning to walk again. I start learning to talk again. I start learning to read again. I start learning to cook again. I start learning everything all over again. This is me with my bike with the 3 wheels, I tell you. And to show you a small movie of what aphasia is about, my assistant for today will start.
Language is an essential part of our lives that we often take for granted. With it, we can communicate our thoughts and feelings, lose ourselves in novels, send text messages, and greet friends. It's hard to imagine being unable to turn thoughts into words. But if the delicate web of language networks in your brain became disrupted by stroke, illness, or trauma, you could find yourself truly at a loss for words. This disorder, called aphasia, can impair all aspects of communication. People who have aphasia remain as intelligent as ever. They know what they want to say, but can't always get their words to come out correctly. They may unintentionally use substitutions called paraphasias, switching related words like saying dog for cat, or words that sound similar, such as house for horse. Sometimes their words may even be unrecognizable. There are several types of aphasia, grouped into two categories: fluent or receptive aphasia, and non-fluent or expressive aphasia. People with fluent aphasia may have normal vocal inflection, but use words that lack meaning. They have difficulty comprehending the speech of others and are frequently unable to recognize their own speech errors. People with non-fluent aphasia, on the other hand, may have good comprehension, but will experience long hesitations between words and make grammatical errors. We all have that tip-of-the-tongue feeling from time to time when we can't think of a word. But having aphasia can make it hard to name simple everyday objects. Even reading and writing can be difficult and frustrating. So how does this language loss happen? The human brain has two hemispheres. In most people, the left hemisphere governs language. We know this because in 1861, the physician Paul Broca studied a patient who lost the ability to use all but a single word, tan. During a postmortem study of that patient's brain, Broca discovered a large lesion in the left hemisphere, now known as Broca's area. Scientists today believe that Broca's area is responsible in part for naming objects and coordinating the muscles involved in speech. Behind Broca's area is Wernicke's area, near the auditory cortex. That's where the brain attaches meaning to speech sounds. Damage to Wernicke's area impairs the brain's ability to comprehend language. Aphasia is caused by injury to one or both of these specialized language areas. Fortunately, there are other areas of the brain which support these language centers and can assist with communication. Even brain areas that control movement are connected to language. fMRI studies found that when we hear action words like run or dance, parts of the brain responsible for movement light up, as if the body was actually running or dancing. Our other hemisphere contributes to language too, enhancing the rhythm and intonation of our speech. These non-language areas sometimes assist people with aphasia when communication is difficult. So how common is aphasia? Approximately 1 million people in the US alone have it, with an estimated 80,000 new cases per year. About 1/3 of stroke survivors suffer from aphasia, making it more prevalent than Parkinson's disease or multiple sclerosis, yet less widely known. There is one rare form of aphasia called primary progressive aphasia, or PPA, which is not caused by stroke or brain injury, but is actually a form of dementia in which language loss is the first symptom. The goal in treating PPA is to maintain language function for as long as possible, before other symptoms of dementia eventually occur. However, when aphasia is acquired from a stroke or brain trauma, language improvement may be achieved through speech therapy. Our brain's ability to repair itself, known as brain plasticity, permits areas surrounding a brain lesion to take over some functions during the recovery process. Scientists have been conducting experiments using new forms of technology, which they believe may encourage brain plasticity in people with aphasia. Meanwhile, many people with aphasia remain isolated, afraid that others won't understand them or give them extra time to speak. By offering them the time and flexibility to communicate in whatever way they can, you can help open the door to language again, moving beyond the limitations of aphasia.
The last sentence is learning to speak and learning to listen is the thing that's most important. I call it open your heart. Listen with your heart. And with this feeling, with those people as me myself also, I started a project where people can start enjoying again, because you are very little if this happens to you. and you have to grow again. And the first months, years, are about learning, talking, speaking, everything you have had once before. But nobody teaches you to enjoy life again. Nobody teaches you to enjoy the things that makes you happy. The project that I'm doing is to bring people with aphasia to the museum, to give the roundabout in the museum and tell him my experience so they feel a little bit welcome and they have nothing to shame about, because I'm standing here also and my language is also difficult. So, and then we start the roundabout. My colleague, Janneke, he knows everything about art. I don't know nothing about art. I only know what I like to see and I like to talk about. So it's a perfect combination. Now it's a start in the museum, but the project is called Open Your Heart. And some people like modern art, but not everybody is. Me, myself, I like music. So I want to go and take the second step, and the second step is to take people with aphasia to a concert, or to take people with aphasia to a movie. And so I searched the movie, so the simple movie with the Dutch language, with also a lot of pictures, a lot of visual way of talking. So step by step, I try to give the people with aphasia more belief in themselves and trust in themselves and finding joy again in their lives, just as I did. Because I know I'm not perfect and I know that I have my disabilities, but I've got something else instead of that. I've got a bigger heart. And that heart, and that's the name of the book, Open Your Heart, is the way of thinking. It's not about language, it's about your heart, and let that speak. Okay, normally I ask if does anybody have the questions, but it's for later on. So I hope that you understand my way of thinking. I hope that you understand my heart a little bit, and I hope that you understand the way that I was growing in my own process, because nobody helped me. They helped me learning to walk, to talk, to think, but I learned myself to enjoy it again. And it's a shame that that's not the way that the healthcare thinks. That's important to learn to enjoy life again. So, thank you.